Welcome to myeyacademy.com. I'm Professor Mahfooz from Pakistan. This is a series of 12 video postgraduate lectures in which we'll talk about the corneal topography. In this first lecture, it will be what is best fit sphere and best fit toric ellipsoid and elevations. In the other lectures, we'll talk about the principles of topography, the different maps and their importance, the parameters used in the topography, how to assess the overall shape in topography. Then will be a 7-step interpretation guide. Then lecture 7 will be about the indices used in topography. Number 8 will be about the normal cornea, how to diagnose normal cornea. Then lecture number 9 will be Mahfooz 15-point quick guide to diagnose keratoconus and other ectatic disorders in the cornea. Number 10 will be the guide with 15 cases, and number 11 will be some of the cases will be discussed in detail, and number 12 will be the topography for the screening of the cornea. You can subscribe to the channel to see the upcoming lectures. In this one, VPL Video Postgraduate Lecture 1.1 will talk about the best fit sphere and best fit toric ellipsoid and the elevations. First of all, very briefly, we'll talk about the normal cornea, particularly the thickness of the cornea. Corneal thickness is roughly 550 micron and the epithelium is 50 micron. If we go in slightly more detail, then the center of the cornea is 550 micron, but center of the cornea is not the thinnest part. So thinnest location, where is it? The answer is here. Where is it? It stands for inferior temporal. So the thinnest location is normally inferior temporal to the center of the cornea. Now, what about the periphery? Periphery of the cornea, you need to remember this mnemonic, COID for you. First of all is the central, then O stands for the outer, then I stands for the inner, D stands for the down, and U stands for the up. So outer cornea is the thickest than the center, then is the inner cornea or the nasal cornea, then is the inferior cornea, and then the superior cornea. So these are the normal thicknesses of the cornea throughout. Now let's start with the concept of the best fit sphere. What is best fit sphere? What you're seeing on the screen is a normal cornea. So we take a normal cornea and then we take a template of the anterior surface of the cornea, then the template of the posterior surface of the cornea, and we join it together. When you've joined it, now you have created a best fit sphere. Now every time you evaluate a cornea, you need to use this best fit sphere, and that will tell you whether the cornea is normal shaped or not. Let's see in an example. This is a cornea which we need to evaluate. So what we do, we are going to put or we'll compare it with the best fit sphere, and it perfectly fits to the best fit sphere, so it is a normal cornea. Now the next is, what is best fit toric ellipsoid? Remember, the normal cornea is not spherical, it is a prolate in shape, which means is spherical in the center and more flatter at the periphery. After having that background knowledge that the normal cornea is not sphere, let's make the template of a ellipsoid cornea or a prolate cornea. This is the front surface of the prolate cornea, and this is the back surface of the prolate cornea, and we join it together, so we have now created a best fit toric ellipsoid. For the details of the cornea, we need to compare a cornea with the best fit toric ellipsoid and not with the best fit sphere. So now we have got a best fit sphere and a best fit toric ellipsoid. So let's evaluate another cornea. We are going to compare it with the BFTE or best fit toric ellipsoid, and it perfectly fits. So it's a perfectly normal cornea without any irregularity. Now the question is, which one to use for evaluating cornea, a best fit sphere or a best fit toric ellipsoid? Actually, both of them are used, and the best fit sphere is used for the shape of the cornea, for detecting the shape of the cornea or irregularities in the shape, and the best fit toric ellipsoid is for the measurements, of the local elevations. So both of them are used. Generally, most of the time we use the best fit sphere because it's easy to use and easy to compare and easy to get the readings. So best fit sphere is easy to understand and easy to interpret, so we use it most of the time to evaluate the shape of the cornea, and the best fit toric ellipsoid is used for the measurements. Now we have discussed and understood what is best fit sphere and best fit toric ellipsoid, and now we are going to talk about the elevations, which are also called heights. So let's talk about the elevations. This is an abnormal cornea. Now let's put a best fit sphere on it. Look at that. It is protruded over here and it's elevated or protruded from here as well. Now this one is the posterior elevation because it is at the posterior surface of the cornea, and this one on the epithelial side is the anterior elevation because it is on the front of the cornea or on the anterior surface of the cornea. So now we have got a posterior elevation or height and anterior elevation or the height. Now is the key point. Now concentrate for the key point and look at the next slide. Now note the key point here, that anterior elevation is less as compared to the posterior elevation, and this is because it is compensated by thinning of the epithelium. There is no compensatory mechanism on the posterior surface of the cornea, so the posterior elevation is always more than the anterior elevation because the epithelium gets thin and compensates for the elevation. That's why when you look at the readings, then the anterior elevation readings are always approximately 5 micron less than the posterior elevation readings. Look at another cornea. Let me put best fit sphere on it, and look at that. There is a posterior elevation, but there is no anterior elevation seen here. This is a case of early keratoconus, so the posterior elevation could be the only and the first sign of the keratoconus, which we call or name as the posterior keratoconus. In this cornea there was elevation anteriorly, but because of the thinning of the epithelium that was compensated. So this is the concept of anterior and posterior elevations. Thank you very much for being with me, and do subscribe to the channel to see more videos. Thank you.